Cake. Written by That Other Dude, 1817. The videos were simple. They all showed someone using a knife to cut through various objects. A plank of wood, a strawberry, a bag of Doritos, even a cup of coffee. But there was a catch. A simple yet confusing catch. They were all cake. All of them sweet, delicious cake. And they all looked so convincing, even I was fooled at first. And it was amazing, but was it real? I knew I had to put it to the test. I grabbed my own knife from the kitchen and a roll of toilet paper from the bathroom. I grabbed the knife, raised it above the top of the roll, and sawed through it as hard as I could. It took a little bit of effort, but when I took apart the two halves, I was amazed to see cake. It was beautiful. It was pure white, meaning it could have been just standard white cake, but it also could have been vanilla, coconut, cheesecake. I had to keep going. I shoved my knife into the wall itself and pulled downwards. It took plenty of resistance, but after some time I made a hole big enough to reveal that the house was truly made of beautiful, beautiful chocolate cake. I was ecstatic. If everything was cake, then there were no limits. I dashed out of the bathroom, leaving my home in search for the first person I could. They were distracted with their back turned to me and typing away at their phone. I had to see if they were cake too. I grabbed them from behind and quickly slit their throat, feeling no guilt as I did so. After all, they were just cake. I let their body hit the floor, watching the strawberry syrup gushing out of their neck in amazement. But I could not stop there. I slammed my knife into their gut and tore it open, delighted to find that there was little to no resistance this time. And there was cake. It was all cake, all of it. It was red velvet. No, strawberry. No, what am I doing? I knew the only way I could pinpoint the flavor. I scooped into the corpse's stomach and devoured as much cake as I could. It didn't taste like a flavor I could recognize. In fact, it was quite disgusting. Maybe it was just a bad batch. I had to find more. I was about to move on when I heard screaming coming from behind me. People had noticed. No, not people. Cake. I could tell each and every one of them was secretly cake just by looking at them. But there was only one question remaining. Don't worry, I laughed with confidence, raising my knife over my own stomach. It's all fake. As I slammed the knife into my body, the pain was horrendous. But as so much cake spilled out of me, I could tell it was delicious. Murder Weapon. Written by Black Knight 6660. Subject, Jake Kylo. Interviewer, Detective Will Ryan. Interview begin. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, Detective Ryan. How did you... When I entered, your desk was the only one that was empty. I can see the door through the blind and have been keeping track of who enters and who leaves. I didn't recognize you when you walked in, and only 2 other people have left and not entered. Thus, the solve. Right. I suppose that's what they were talking about. Detective? It says here in your file that a certain Dr. Graham diagnosed you with a unique mental defect after you were given court-mandated therapy, and before he went missing. I assume you know all about that. Ah, yes, Dr. Graham. He was my first kill. I suppose, in a way, he made me the man I am today. Right. According to his records, you have a genius-level IQ, but your brain doesn't properly apply it. He found out you could solve complicated puzzles easily, but not figure out how to put the cap on the pen afterward. quite. You see, my head is so filled with other things, I seem to just forget about the simple stuff.
Okay, well, I'm gonna level with you. You've already confessed to the officers after your arrest, so your jail time is inevitable. I'm just here to figure out why you did it. You were so precise and smart up until a week ago. What happened at the fairground?
Well, you see, after my first kill, I realized a problem. What to do with the weapon. I couldn't put the bust back because of the blood. Anybody could make the connection between the blunt trauma kill and the large statue next to his desk.
So what did you do?
Well, I gave it a rinse and sold it online. It's probably sitting on someone's shelf right now.
Jesus.
Quite. But you see, I realized that this discovery would revolutionize the modern world of murder, so I had to make sure it worked. Hence my second kill.
Mr. Laramie, the hardware store owner.
Indeed. I chose him because he was old and frail, little to no risk. As you know, I tied him to a chair in the back room and stabbed him to death with a kitchen knife. Then I wrapped it up and sold it to a customer whilst disguised as a cashier. It was sheer genius, if I do say so myself.
You sick bastard.
Now, language.
Just finish the story.
Well, you see, my final test was my downfall. I guess my unique disability cost me my freedom in the end, didn't it? You see, I needed to see if it would work with anything. So I branched out. Miss Field, owner of the carnival. When she was dead, I dumped the body over the pier and moved on to disposing of the weapon.
And that's how you got caught.
Precisely. I broke the neck of an employee whilst he was on a smoke break and put on his outfit as the candy floss vendor. Then I sold my weapon to some child.
It was more than one, you prick. We're still getting calls now. The number is 25 and rising.
Yes. You see, I didn't see the connection. The weapon I'd chosen and the outcome of me selling it to them. Perhaps if I'd chosen a less deadly compound, I would have gotten away with it. But as you know, arsenic is quite deadly.
Interview over.
Apollo Farm Orphanage, written by VorpalAbyss. I work at the Apollo Farm Orphanage. It's where people send little boys when they can't be looked after. Its sister location is called Artemis. It's run by a woman named Graves and takes in small girls. The children we take in are usually about 6 to 10 years of age, although we have taken in older. Here in the farm, we teach the lads how to be good, productive members of society. They learn everything they need to here, from mathematics to English to design and technology. They really like the last one, with competitions at the end of the month to see what they learned. Last time we had a soapbox race. We also have livestock here on the farm, cattle raised here and slaughtered to help feed the boys. It's an initiative that's not only cut down on costs, but has helped us in the learning aspect for the boys, and helps them become members of society. After all, we can't keep them forever. They have to leave at some point. The break-off point is 16. That's when you're legally an adult in this country, though you do have some juvenile privileges at that point. Those that have excelled will get small flats and a good job working their way up the property and career ladders to lofty positions. That said, all of them will inevitably contribute to the greater good of our country. Timothy was not one of those who excelled. He was mediocre at best, lazy and unmotivated at worst. He was just about going into his teens at the time, so I figured I'd get him and a few others to help with that year's slaughter. We brought them into the shed, about 5 boys, including Timmy. In the shed, we had everything set up. Knives on a table, the meat grinder to the side, and the livestock hung on chains by their ankles. I picked up a knife and walked them through the process of slaughtering the cattle, dragging the knife across the throat of the spare we had for demonstration purposes. It kicked and bucked, bleeding out as the lads watched. I think the word I'm looking for is transfixed. Once it stopped, I pulled on the chain, guiding the carcass to the grinder. Timothy shouted at me, telling me to stop. I did so, curious as to all the fuss. He screamed at me, telling me I'm a monster, that I murdered his friend. He stopped as I strode up to him and put a slightly bloody hand on his shoulder. I explained to him that we took livestock that needed to be slaughtered to help feed the rest of the orphans, and that they certainly couldn't stay after turning 16, and that I made a promise that everyone we took in would contribute to the betterment of the world, no matter the cost. So he'd better start feeding his own motivation before he feeds another orphan. Thank you for listening. You can probably handle another horror story, right?